Welcome to Module 3 of Behavior Therapy. Here, we shall explore social learning theory and social skills training. In our first two modules, we covered classical and operant conditioning, which are powerful learning mechanisms, but they both require direct experience. You have to personally experience this association or consequence to learn. But think about how we actually learn most behaviors in real life. A child does not need to touch every hot stove to learn they are dangerous. We don't need to personally experience every consequence. We watch others and we learn from their experiences. This is remarkably efficient. Albert Bandura in the 1960s asked a fundamental question. Can we learn simply by watching others? His research demonstrated conclusively that yes, we can. And this observational learning is perhaps the most powerful form of human learning. We learn language, social behavior, cultural practices, and countless skills by observing and imitating others. This insight revolutionized behavior therapy because it meant we could teach new behaviors through modeling rather than waiting for them to occur naturally. Let us now explore the Albert Bandura's famous Bobo doll experiment. This experiment demonstrated observational learning brilliantly. Bandura had children watch an adult model act aggressively towards an inflatable Bobo doll, hitting it, kicking it, using specific aggressive phrases. A control group did not see this aggressive model. Then the children were placed in a room with the Bobo doll. What happened? The children who had observed aggression imitated not just generally aggressive behavior, but the specific acts they had witnessed. The same punches, kicks, and phrases. The control group showed minimal aggression. This proved that children learn these behaviors purely through observation without any direct reinforcement for themselves. The implications were enormous, particularly for understanding how children learn from media violence, but also for how we could see modeling therapeutically. Albert Bandura identified 4 processes necessary for observational learning. They are attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. First, attention. You must notice and pay attention to the model. Second, retention. You must remember what you observe. Third, reproduction. You must have the physical or cognitive capability to perform the behavior. Fourth, motivation. You must have a reason to actually imitate the behavior. If any of these 4 is missing, observational learning won't occur. This gives us clear targets for intervention. Now, let us understand what vicarious reinforcement is. We don't just learn behaviors through observation. We also learn about their likely consequences. If you see your coworker praised for suggesting an idea in a meeting, you're more likely to speak up yourself. If you see your sibling get in trouble for coming home late, you'll learn without experiencing the punishment yourself. This is remarkably efficient. We can learn from others' mistakes and successes without personal trial and error. Types of modeling. There are several types of modeling we use in therapy. Live modeling is when a real person demonstrates the behavior in person, the therapist or another client. Symbolic modeling uses video, film, or written descriptions. Participant modeling, which is the most effective, involves the therapist demonstrating while the client observes. Then, the therapist guides the client's participation with gradually fading support. Types of modeling. There are several types of modeling we use in therapy. Live modeling is when a real person demonstrates the behavior in person, the therapist or another client. Symbolic modeling uses video, film, or written descriptions. Participant modeling, which is the most effective, involves the therapist demonstrating while the client observes. Then, the therapist guides the client's participation with gradually fading support. Now, let me walk you through participant modeling for a dog phobia. The therapist first demonstrates approaching and petting a calm dog while the client observes from a safe distance. No pressure to participate yet. The client sees that nothing bad happens. The therapist models calm, confident behavior. Next, the therapist invites the client to approach with them, providing physical support like holding their hand. The therapist continues to demonstrate while encouraging the client. Gradually, the therapist fades their support, maybe just standing nearby, then watching from across the room. Finally, the client performs the behavior independently. This graduated approach combines modeling with exposure therapy, and it's remarkably effective, often more effective than exposure alone. Now, central to Bandura's social learning theory is the concept of self-efficacy. Your belief in your ability to succeed in specific situations. This is not self-esteem which is global. Self-efficacy is domain-specific. Let's say I might have high self-efficacy for public speaking but low self-efficacy for playing piano. Self-efficacy comes from four sources. The most powerful is mastery experiences, actually succeeding at the task. This is why we break skills down into achievable steps. Second is vicarious experiences. Seeing similar others succeed boosts your belief that you can too. Third is social persuasion, encouragement from others. Fourth is interpreting your physiological states. If you feel excited rather than anxious before a presentation, you'll have higher self-efficacy. People with high self-efficacy set challenging goals, persist in the face of obstacles, and view difficulties as opportunities to improve. Building self-efficacy is often the central goal of therapy. Now, let us turn to social skills training, which is one of the most important applications of social learning theory. Social skills training systematically teaches interpersonal effectiveness skills to people who struggle with social interactions. The populations who benefit include individuals with autism spectrum disorder, social anxiety, schizophrenia, attention deficit and hyperactive disorder, depression, and developmental disabilities. Really, anyone struggling with interpersonal relationships can benefit. The training combines multiple components such as careful assessment, explicit instruction, modeling, behavioral rehearsal with feedback, and real world practice. It is highly structured and evidence based. Before training, we must assess whether the person has a skill deficit or a performance deficit. This distinction is crucial. A skill deficit means they have never learned the skill. They don't know how to do it. A performance deficit means they have the skill but do not use it, usually due to anxiety, low motivation, or environmental barriers. How do we tell the difference? Can they perform the skill when promoted in a safe environment? If yes, it's a performance deficit. We need to work on motivation or anxiety reduction. If the skill and if they still can't do it, even when promoted and coached, it's a skill deficit. We need direct instruction and practice. The core social skills we target include conversation skills like how to start, maintain, and end conversations appropriately, nonverbal communication like eye contact, facial expressions, body language, respecting personal space, listening skills such as active listening, paraphrasing, asking good questions. Assertiveness is critical, expressing your needs and opinions while respecting others. Empathy skills include perspective taking and recognizing others' emotions. Conflict resolution involves problem solving, compromise, and negotiation. Most social skills training programs are delivered in groups of 6 to 8 people, meeting weekly for 60 to 90 minutes over 10 to 12 weeks. Each session follows a structured format. We usually start with a brief introduction, reviewing homework from the previous week and introducing today's target skill. Then comes explicit instruction. We explain the skill, when to use it, why it is important. This addresses the knowledge component. Next is modeling. We demonstrate the skill through video or live demonstration. Then comes the heart of the session, behavioral rehearsal. Participants engage in role plays, practicing the skill repeatedly with coaching and feedback. We provide both positive feedback, what they did well, and corrective feedback, specific suggestions for improvement. Finally, we assign homework for real world practice. The key is multiple practice opportunities with immediate and specific feedback. Assertiveness training teaches that you have certain rights. The right to express your opinions, to say no, to make mistakes, to change your mind. Many people, especially those with anxiety or people pleasing tendencies, do not believe they have these rights. The DESC script is a practical tool which explains D as describing the situation objectively without judgment. When you interrupt me during meetings, E. Express your feelings using I statements. I feel frustrated and disrespected. S. Specify what you would like to change. I would like you to wait until I finish speaking. C. Consequences, both positive and negative. This will help our communication and collaboration. We practice this script with progressively challenging scenarios. Low stakes might be returning an item to a store. Medium stakes might be asking a roommate to clean up after themselves. High stakes might be confronting your boss about unfair treatment. Video self-modeling deserves special mention. The client watches edited videos of themselves successfully performing the target skill. We record multiple practice attempts, then show to edit only the successful moments, creating a highlight reel. The client watches this repeatedly, creating feed-forward expectations. This is a mental model of themselves succeeding. This builds self-efficacy powerfully. It's especially effective for children, performance anxiety, and athletic performance. The process works because seeing yourself succeed creates a powerful template that your brain wants to replicate. It bypasses the doubt and negative self-talk that often interferes with performance. Let me summarize the key points from this module once again. Humans learn most complex behaviors through observation. Modeling is an effective alternative to trial and error learning, but attention retention, reproduction capacity, Our capability and motivation must all be present. Participant modeling, which combines therapist demonstration with guided practice, is the most effective form. Social skills training systematically teaches interpersonal effectiveness through instruction, modeling, rehearsal, and feedback. Assertiveness involves balancing self expression with respect for others. It's the middle path between passive and aggressive. Behavioral rehearsal with specific feedback is essential. Knowledge alone doesn't create skill. Generalization must be explicitly programmed through varied practice and real world homework. Cultural context profoundly shapes what's considered appropriate social behavior. We must adapt our training accordingly. And finally, self efficacy. Belief in your ability to succeed is central to therapeutic change. When people believe they can succeed, they try harder, persist longer, and ultimately do succeed. In Module 4, our final module, we shall integrate everything we have learned and explore advanced applications of behavior therapy. Thank you for your attention.